Ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over?
No, officer, I don't.
Your tail light's out, license and registration.
I just had my car serviced yesterday.
Are you sure?
I know what I saw.
License, now.
Okay, here. But I'd like to know
Step
which
out of the vehicle, I'm just asking a question. Okay, so now you're refusing to comply?
Step out, or I'm adding obstruction to this.
Officer Derek Mills had no idea what he just walked into. In the next 72 hours, his dashcam footage would be taken by federal investigators. His radio calls would be played in front of the state police board. He'd lose his badge, he'd lose his pension, and he'd face criminal charges. The woman he just threatened to arrest was Supreme Court Justice Amara Johnson. She was one of the most powerful legal minds in the country. Justice Johnson had served 12 years on the highest court in the nation. She'd sent corrupt officers to prison as a federal attorney. She'd written opinions that changed how police do their jobs. Officer Mills had just pulled over someone who literally wrote the laws he was supposed to follow. And his dashcam was recording everything, including the radio call he made minutes before the stop. Got a nice car in this neighborhood, let's see who it is. Both taillights were working perfectly. This wasn't a traffic stop, it was profiling. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been stopped by police for something that didn't make sense? Drop your answer in the comments. But Officer Mills had no idea who he was threatening. Justice Amara Johnson was 54 years old. She'd been a Supreme Court justice for 12 years. Before that, she worked 15 years as a federal prosecutor. She worked in the Civil Rights Division. She specialized in police misconduct cases. Justice Johnson went to Yale Law School. She graduated at the top of her class. She argued 23 cases before appeals courts. She was president of the National Bar Association. She was one of the most respected legal minds in America. Here's what Officer Mills didn't know. Justice Johnson wrote the majority opinion in a huge case about traffic stops in 2019. That case changed the rules for police across the country. She prosecuted 47 cases of police civil rights violations. She won 91% of them. She was a national expert on search and seizure law. She'd even testified before Congress about racial profiling by police. On this Tuesday night in October, Justice Johnson was just trying to get home. She'd spent 14 hours at the Supreme Court reviewing death penalty cases. She was exhausted. She just wanted to see her husband and her 2 cats. She had no idea she was about to become the victim in a case that would define her career. Now here's what happened next. It was Tuesday, October 17, 2024. The time was 11:47 p.m. The location was Riverside Heights. That's a rich neighborhood about 4 miles from Justice Johnson's home. The median home value there is $1.2 million. The streets have big trees. There are nice street lamps. The pavement was wet from earlier rain. Justice Johnson was driving alone in her 2023 Mercedes E-Class. It's a nice car, but not crazy expensive. She bought it used. She'd left the Supreme Court building at 11:15 p.m. She'd just finished an emergency session about a Texas death penalty case. She was exhausted. She just wanted to get home. At 11:43 p.m., Officer Mills radioed to his partner, Officer Chen. Chen was in a separate car 2 blocks away. Mills said, "Got a nice car in this neighborhood. Let's see who it is. Black Mercedes, female driver, running the plate now." Officer Chen responded, "Copy. I'm 2 minutes out if you need backup." 4 minutes later, at 11:47 p.m., Mills turned on his lights. He pulled behind the Mercedes at the corner of Oakmont and Riverside Drive. Justice Johnson had a dashcam installed in her car. She'd put it there after reading about police misconduct cases. The dashcam clearly showed both taillights working perfectly as she signaled and pulled over. Mills walked up to her window. He had his flashlight in one hand. His other hand rested on his gun. It was an aggressive posture. Justice Johnson immediately knew something was wrong. In her 15 years prosecuting police, she'd seen this approach before. If stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. Mills looked in her window. "You were swerving back there. Where are you coming from this late?" "I wasn't swerving, officer. I'm coming from work." "What kind of work has you out at midnight?" "I'd prefer not to answer questions beyond what's required for this stop." Mills didn't like that answer. He went back to his car. He ran her license. Then he came back. "This your car?" "Yes, it's registered to me." "How can you afford a Mercedes? What do you do?" Justice Johnson stayed calm. "That's not relevant to a traffic stop, officer." "I decide what's relevant. Step out of the vehicle. On what grounds? I've done what you asked. Don't get smart with me. Out now. Justice Johnson pulled out her phone. She started recording. I'm recording this for my safety. Mills got aggressive. Turn that phone off. That's a lawful order. I have a First Amendment right to record police in public. You're blocking my investigation. Final warning. What investigation? You said my taillight was broken, but then you said I was swerving. Mills was caught. He'd given 2 different reasons for the stop. Don't tell me how to do my job. I'm simply asking why I've been detained. You're detained because I say so. Now get out before this gets worse for you. Justice Johnson slowly got out of her car. I'm doing what you say. I'm not resisting. A neighbor walked his dog across the street. He stopped to watch. He pulled out his phone and started recording. A car passed by slowly. The driver, a white man, shouted out his window, "Leave her alone." The porch light turned on at the nearest house. An elderly white couple came outside. They were watching too. Officer Chen arrived in his patrol car. That was 10 minutes into the stop. Mills walked over to him. She's being difficult. Might need to bring her in. Chen looked uncomfortable. For what charge? Mills was irritated. I'll figure it out. Mills positioned himself 18 inches from Justice Johnson's face. His hand went back to his gun. His voice got louder. He was shouting now. Justice Johnson was mentally taking notes of everything, every Fourth Amendment violation, every procedural error, every threat. She wasn't just documenting for a complaint. She was documenting for a case she'd be hearing in 3 months. Wait until you hear what happened next. It was now 12:04 a.m. That's 17 minutes into the stop. Officer Mills ran Justice Johnson's license for the 3rd time. The dispatcher's voice came over the radio. Unit 247, that registration comes back to, Mills, you need to call the supervisor, like right now. Mills sounded confused. What's the issue? The dispatcher's voice was careful. Just call Sergeant Brooks, immediately. Mills walked away to use his radio. Justice Johnson could hear pieces of what he was saying. Supreme Court, federal judge, oh God. Mills came back to her car. His face was pale. His whole attitude had changed. Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Justice Johnson stayed calm. What misunderstanding would that be, officer? I thought your taillight looked broken, but we can just call this a warning. A warning for what violation, specifically? Mills was scrambling now. Look, Justice, I mean ma'am, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to need your badge number. I want your supervisor's name, and I want copies of your dashcam footage from tonight. Mills tried to brush it off. That's not really necessary. Justice Johnson cut him off. Officer Mills, I've prosecuted 47 cases of police civil rights violations. I know exactly what's necessary. That's when the witnesses spoke up. Margaret Chen lived in the house with the porch light. She was 67 years old. She'd been a school teacher. She'd lived in that neighborhood for 30 years. She walked down from her porch. I've been watching from up there. I saw her taillights. They were both working. I recorded the whole thing on my iPad. David Torres was the man walking his dog. He was 34. He's a software engineer. Officer, I heard you on the radio when I walked by your car. You said, let's see who it is, before you even stopped her. That's not a traffic stop. That's profiling. Even Officer Chen spoke up. He looked reluctant. Derek, her taillights are fine. I can see them from here, both working. Justice Johnson had been recording on her phone for 17 minutes. Margaret Chen had 14 minutes of video from her porch. David Torres had 6 minutes of audio. That included the radio conversation. Officer Mills's dashcam had recorded 19 minutes. Officer Chen's dashcam had 11 minutes. And Justice Johnson's car dashcam had recorded the entire stop. It showed her taillights working the whole time. At 12:19 a.m., Sergeant Brooks arrived. That's 32 minutes into the stop. Mills, Chen, back to your vehicles, now. Brooks walked over to Justice Johnson. Justice Johnson, I apologize for this. We'll be doing a full investigation. Sergeant Brooks, I want that investigation to include his radio calls from before the stop. All of them. Brooks realized how serious this was. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Mills was sitting in his patrol car. His head was in his hands. Officer Chen walked over to him. Jude, do you know what you just did? That's a Supreme Court justice. She literally writes the laws on this stuff. Mills tried one more time. He walked back to Justice Johnson's car. Ma'am, I really think we can resolve this informally. Sergeant Brooks stopped him. Mills, get back in your vehicle. You're done talking. At 12:35 a.m., Justice Johnson was finally allowed to drive home. She'd been detained for 45 minutes for a taillight that was never broken. Officer Mills went back to the station. He was immediately put on leave pending investigation. He was starting to understand how badly he'd messed up. The woman he'd treated like a criminal had spent 15 years sending officers like him to federal prison. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Within 18 hours, Internal Affairs Captain Rebecca Morrison was assigned to the case. The U.S. Department of Justice was notified. That's because a federal official was involved. Police Chief Raymond Walsh personally reviewed the footage on Thursday morning. Here's the timeline. Wednesday at 8 a.m., Mills was suspended without pay. Wednesday at 2 p.m., all dashcam and bodycam footage was secured. Wednesday at 6 p.m., witness statements were collected. Thursday at 10 a.m., radio communications were pulled from the archives. Thursday at 3 p.m., Mills's personnel file was reviewed. It showed all 11 prior complaints. Captain Morrison reviewed 47 minutes of combined video footage. She reviewed the complete radio transcript from 10 p.m. to midnight. She looked at Mills's traffic stop history. He'd made 247 stops in Riverside Heights over 3 years. 89% involved black drivers, but the neighborhood was only 12% black. They discovered a pattern. Mills had stopped 34 vehicles for broken taillights in 2 years. Only 3 actually had equipment problems. Mills's story fell apart fast. He claimed her taillight was out, but 6 video angles showed both taillights working. That included his own dashcam. He claimed she was swerving, but the dashcam showed her driving perfectly straight. She used her turn signals. She obeyed the speed limit. He claimed he felt threatened when she pulled out her phone, but the video showed her calmly stating she was recording. There were no aggressive movements. Mills was the one who got physical. He claimed he ran her license multiple times because of system errors, but radio logs showed he was deliberately searching. He was hoping to find warrants or violations. Friday morning brought the biggest discovery. The radio transcript from 11:43 p.m. was clear. Got a nice car in this neighborhood, let's see who it is. That was clear evidence of a pretextual stop. Friday at 4 p.m., Chief Walsh held a press conference. Officer Mills has been fired effective immediately. Mills lost his pension. That's 14 years of service gone. The case was sent to the district attorney for criminal charges. The charges included deprivation of rights under color of law and false imprisonment. The state board revoked his police license permanently. He could never work in law enforcement again. A federal civil rights investigation was opened. It looked into the entire precinct's traffic stop patterns. Mills went through stages. First, denial. He claimed he was just doing his job. Then anger. His union representative threatened to sue for political termination. Then desperation. He asked for a meeting with Justice Johnson to apologize. Her legal team said no. Finally, he hired an attorney. He immediately filed for bankruptcy to protect his assets. Justice Johnson released a statement through the Supreme Court. I will help with all investigations. What happened to me happens to countless others who don't have my resources or platform. Officer Chen gave a private statement about Mills's pattern. 6 other officers came forward. They'd witnessed his conduct too. The Riverside Heights Neighborhood Association passed a resolution. They condemned the stop. They raised $47,000 for the ACLU Police Reform Fund in Justice Johnson's name. But the consequences were just beginning. Margaret Chen, the neighbor who recorded from her porch, had uploaded her footage to YouTube. The title was Cop Threatens Supreme Court Justice, Watch What Happens. Within 3 hours, it had 200,000 views. If you want to see more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. By Thursday at 9 a.m., Margaret Chen's YouTube video was live. By 10 a.m., it had 200,000 views. People like Sean King and Ben Crump shared it on Twitter. By noon, it had 1.2 million views. It was trending #1 on Twitter. The hashtag was Justice for Justice Johnson. By 2 p.m., CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News were all running segments. By 6 p.m., it had 4.7 million views across YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. By midnight Thursday, it hit 12.3 million combined views. International news picked it up. BBC, Al Jazeera, and CBC all covered it. Here are the numbers. YouTube had 8.2 million views, 340,000 likes, and 89,000 comments. The hashtag Justice for Justice Johnson was tweeted 2.1 million times. TikTok had 847 reaction videos with 23 million combined views. Instagram had the video reposted by over 400 influencer accounts. That's 5.6 million views. On Reddit, it hit the front page of 3 major communities. It got 67,000 upvotes combined. Beyonce tweeted, "How many people without her power go through this every single day? This has to stop." Barack Obama tweeted, "Justice Johnson's experience reminds us that the work of police reform isn't finished. No one should be stopped because of what they look like or what they drive." The ACLU tweeted, "What happened to Justice Johnson is what happens to millions of Black Americans daily. The difference, she had the platform and resources to fight back. We need change now." Senator Cory Booker said, "I'm calling for Congress. Sional hearings on pretextual traffic stops. This ends now." Every DC and Maryland station led with the story for 3 days. CNN did a special report called Driving While Black, a Supreme Court justice's story. BBC's headline was "America's Top Judge Victim of Racial Profiling." The police union issued a statement defending Mills. They said the officer made a judgment call in good faith. They got 400,000 critical replies. The union was forced to delete the statement. Mills tried damage control. On Saturday, he issued a written apology through his attorney. "I regret any misunderstanding," but it failed. Dashcam audio came out showing Mills laughing with Officer Chen after the stop. "Bet she'll think twice about driving through here again." On Monday, Mills's Facebook photos surfaced. They showed him at the January 6 rally. He didn't enter the Capitol, but he was there. Other photos showed him wearing Blue Lives Matter gear at a counter-protest to a BLM march. 3 days later, Officer Derek Mills did something that sealed his fate forever. He went on Fox News. What do you think about how this spread? Let me know in the comments. On Monday evening, Mills appeared on Tucker Carlson's show. He claimed he was a victim of woke culture. He said he was just doing my job. He said Justice Johnson played the race card. The video immediately went viral. It got 8 million views. Everyone condemned it. On November 3, 2024, Justice Johnson filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. She filed in D.C. District Court. The claims included violation of the Fourth Amendment, that's unlawful search and seizure. It included violation of the 14th Amendment, that's equal protection. It also included intentional infliction of emotional distress and false imprisonment. On November 5, the U.S. Department of Justice filed criminal charges against Mills. The charges were deprivation of rights under color of law and making false statements in a police report. He could face up to 6 years in prison. On November 8, the ACLU filed a class action lawsuit. It was on behalf of 47 other black drivers Mills had stopped between 2019 and 2024. The discovery phase ran from November to January. They found Mills's text messages with other officers. He mocked black drivers. One text said, "Another luxury car stop in Riverside, easy overtime." They found Mills had filed 89 false equipment violation reports over 4 years. They found Mills had gotten warnings from supervisors 7 times about his stop patterns. He was never disciplined. They discovered the precinct had an informal quota culture. High stop numbers got you overtime opportunities. Mills's personal social media showed membership in groups that shared racist content. In February 2025, Mills took a plea deal to avoid trial. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of deprivation of rights under color of law. His sentence was 8 months in federal prison, 2 years supervised release, and 200 hours of community service at civil rights organizations. He was permanently banned from any law enforcement or security job nationwide. In March 2025, the city settled Justice Johnson's lawsuit for $850,000. Mills was personally liable for $125,000. He paid through selling his assets and filing bankruptcy. The city settled the ACLU class action for $3.2 million. That was split among 47 people. Attorney fees cost the city another $780,000. The total financial impact was $4.955 million. The social consequences were severe. The neighborhood association banned Mills from all businesses in Riverside Heights. His wife divorced him in January 2025. She cited public humiliation and racist behavior. His 2 adult children released a statement condemning him. They're now estranged. Mills's address was leaked online. He was forced to move to a different state. Mills lost his police pension. That was worth about $820,000 over his lifetime. He declared bankruptcy in April 2025. His current job is unknown. His attorneys say he's unable to find work. The state revoked his concealed carry permit. The case set legal precedent. Justice Johnson's case was cited in another case in March 2025. That case strengthened protections against pretextual stops. The DOJ investigation of the entire precinct led to a federal order. The precinct had to have oversight for 5 years. The state legislature passed the Justice Johnson law in May 2025. It requires all police cars to have working dashcams. The footage automatically uploads to independent servers. In March 2025, Mills released a video statement. He claimed he'd learned and grown. He apologized to Justice Johnson specifically. She refused to accept it. Her statement said, "Actions have consequences. Officer Mills had 14 years and 11 complaints to learn and grow. My concern is for the countless others who suffered and didn't have my platform." After the settlement, Justice Johnson made another statement. "This is not about money, this is about a system that let Officer Mills terrorize black drivers for over a decade. Every complaint was ignored. Every warning was brushed aside. That system must be torn down." Justice Johnson donated the $850,000 settlement. It went to organizations fighting police misconduct. But the story didn't end with money or even justice. It ended in the place where Justice Johnson has the most power, the Supreme Court. In June 2025, Justice Johnson made a rare personal statement. She spoke at the Supreme Court press briefing room. "For 17 minutes on that roadside, I wasn't a Supreme Court justice. I was just another black woman being treated as suspicious for driving a nice car in a nice neighborhood. The fear was real, the helplessness was real, and I had every advantage: legal training, resources, a platform, witnesses. Imagine what this feels like for someone working 2 jobs who can't afford to miss work for a court date." She continued, "I've spent 27 years in law. I've prosecuted police misconduct. I've written opinions protecting citizens from unlawful searches, and none of that protected me on October 17th. If someone with my credentials and position can be treated this way, what hope does the average retail worker have? What about the delivery driver? What about the teacher? What happens when authority abuses power against them?" Her message to workers was clear. To every person who's been put down by someone in power, you have rights, constitutional rights, civil rights, human rights. You don't deserve abuse regardless of who's delivering it. Document everything, know your rights, and speak up because your voice matters. Her message to those in power was direct. To officers, managers, officials, power is a responsibility, not a weapon. Officer Mills chose to use his badge as intimidation. The consequences were severe, but they were earned. Think about the lives you impact daily. Respect costs nothing. She laid out what she wants. "I want 3 things. 1. Independent oversight of police departments with real power to discipline. 2. Mandatory training for all officers on bias and de-escalation. 3. A cultural shift where we stop defending the indefensible. Bad cops make good cops less safe. Bad officers betray the badge." She thanked her supporters. To Margaret Chen, who recorded from her porch, to David Torres, who stopped to witness, to Officer Chen, who told the truth, to every person who spoke up, thank you. Silence protects abusers. Your courage protects communities. Her closing was powerful. Dignity is not negotiable. Respect is not optional. And justice, real justice, means accountability for everyone, no exceptions, no excuses. This case exposed something much bigger. Black drivers are 20% more likely to be stopped than white drivers. They're twice as likely to be searched. Yet police find illegal items more often when they search white drivers. 42% of traffic stops of black drivers involve questions unrelated to the stop. For white drivers, that number is only 18%. Officer Mills stopped people 247 times in Riverside Heights. 89% were black drivers, but the neighborhood is only 12% black. This wasn't random, it was a pattern. Justice Johnson had power to fight back. Most people don't. That's the real problem. So let me ask you, do we accept a system where a Supreme Court justice with 27 years of legal experience can be illegally detained for 45 minutes, and the only reason there were consequences is because she's one of the most powerful people in America? Do we accept that Officer Mills had 11 complaints about this exact behavior over 7 years and nothing happened until he targeted someone who couldn't be ignored? Do we accept that right now, tonight, drivers are being pulled over not because they broke the law, but because someone with a badge decided they look suspicious? Because if we don't fix the culture that protected Officer Mills for 14 years, if we don't demand accountability for the other officers in that precinct who are still pulling over black drivers at 3 times the rate of white drivers, then we're just waiting for the next Derek Mills, the next victim, the next viral video that changes nothing. Comment below if you think Officer Mills's 8-month sentence was enough, or if officers who abuse power should face longer prison time. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better. We're going to keep fighting for accountability and justice. This isn't just about one corrupt cop or one Supreme Court justice. It's about all of us. See you in the next one.